Samurai Guitarist is launching his own brand of guitars, and he asked me if he could send me one, so let's check it out. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Now, to get all the disclosures up front, he did not say I had to make a video on this. He just sent it as a gift, but hey, that's just what I do, guitar videos. So he's partnered with Cort. Those are the guys who make their own brand of guitars. You can see quite a few interesting things, but they also make guitars for other companies. Like I'm pretty sure PRS uses the Cort factories. But he's calling his new brand Otera, and he's officially released whatever day this video comes out, 2025, which should be today, but I'm recording this June 1st, so I've never seen this before. So these are my true very first impressions. It looks like some sort of a really blocky Telecaster, but with a little bit of Stratocaster blent in with it. It feels really wide, like ridiculously wide, almost like some sort of a fan. But despite being so big, it's so thin, it still feels really nice if you like a thinner guitar. I'm trying to say it's light in weight, but pairing with the finish, that's got some really cool wood grain, and check that out. Looks like 3-ply binding. You don't find that on electrics every day, but obviously very Tele influenced here. But instead of the regular single coil, we got a P90 with our regular bridge saddles over here. Looks like he went for witch hat style knobs. He was telling me something about being a special multi-selector switch. That's not your usual 3-way, that's a 4-way. But it is a flat top until you get to your arm contour area. You can see how it just folds in right there. Otherwise, it seems flat everywhere else. But now let's flip on over to the back. It looks like it is a 2-piece body. The top actually does have a center seam line. I'm not sure if that's just 2 pieces coming together or if there's a different top put on it. We'll tear this thing apart to figure that out later. But it's got some more of that really cool ashy looking wood grain. But it is a bolt-on neck construction without a neck plate even. That way they can carve this away a little bit. And then we just have this really plain looking maple neck, super crisp and white, adds to the whole spearmint flavor. And judging by the feel of it, this is more so on the satin side of things. Like not a cheap, nasty satin. It's almost a semi-gloss. This is going to buff up real quick, whereas the rest of the guitar is full gloss. Now we've got a pretty blocky headstock style. It's slightly reminiscent of the snakehead Telecasters. So that's one thing that's always bonded Samurai and I together, is we like the weird, quirky guitar. So this is totally on brand for him. I do enjoy his new company name though, Otera. It just works in my opinion. And then we got some Japanese symbols. But I'm curious, is he putting expletives on my guitar? Let's find out. Nah, it just says Otera guitar. I like that. That's a good touch. Because on top of that, to match kind of your cool wood grain and colorations we've got going on over here, it's also a matching headstock, but it has to have some sort of a wooden veneer. Otherwise, we would see the 3 pieces of maple going through. But first impressions? If you like a slimmer neck and a wide body that you do kind of get used to, you might enjoy this. It's called the TK-1. That's what that branding is right here. This is his first new model. And to start, they're making a limited edition of 100. This is number 27. So if you decide you want one of these, it's OteraGuitars.com. The first 100 are actually coming with a cool cherry blossom pickguard that he has personally signed. But besides just the guitar, as we saw earlier, we do get a nice gig bag. It reminds me a lot of what PRS uses. It's got a nice little neck block in there. And it does have a Velcro attachment if you want to use it. Otherwise, you can just leave it in there. And let's see, any case candy, truss rod tool, and a couple of silica packets up here. And then we've got a larger pouch down here with some foam. Then another zippered pouch in there. Cool. But to learn more, let's go ahead and throw it onto the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs and get a quality control analysis. We've got it torn apart, and I also watched what he had done of his own video documenting a few of the initial prototypes. So now I can see a whole lot has changed, in case you happen to watch his video first. So the first ones that I saw actually had black binding, which I think is really cool. Now I'm disappointed by the cream, but it does match the neck. And kind of your font up here gives it that whole spearmint vibe. But black binding doesn't get used enough, especially multiply. But now check out what was hiding underneath that P90 cover. Have you ever seen a P90 like that? So this is a Seymour Duncan silencer model. As the name implies, it gets rid of that 60 cycle hum. And there's a few different ways you can do that to a P90. You can stack 2 coils on the sides of each other to give you the same same width of a pickup, or it looks like they opted to do 2 tiny coils alongside your main coil right here. So I'm really interested to try that out, and let's just say I'm tempted just to leave the cover off, because you can't tell me this does not give the guitar a unique identity. You just have to shrink the pick guard a little bit. Or really, this doesn't look half bad without a guard on it at all. As far as the cavity itself, it's pretty basic. You've got your shielding paint, so unfortunately we can't see how thick the top is. My guess is it's some sort of a veneer of either ash or oak. But if you're curious if a humbucker will fit in there, no. However, it's so close it feels like a uncovered one might. Nah, you'd have to do just a little bit of shaving. It's so close. But then moving on to our bridge pickup, you can see the Seymour Duncan branding here, so we've got something else. The BG 1400. Have not tried that pickup before. But as far as the route over here, pretty typical Telly style one, but with another oblong shape right there. But uh-oh, Samurai, I think you have to take your sword and slash some people's salaries. I did find a factory boo-boo over here. Looks like they started to install the bridge slightly askew. So you got those starter routes over there before they drilled it in the correct location. Or perhaps those are there for some other reason. But then they actually route a small channel out of the body right there where the strings go through. I wonder what that's all about, because you don't technically need that. It looks like you do have the option to run this as a top loader if you'd prefer. But as far as your intonation, it's 3 barrel saddles. Moving on from over here, we have this cavity. Not too much going on over here. We'll just have to sweep it out a little bit. But as far as our pots, it's the smaller made in Korea style. And then I didn't notice this until I put it on the workbench. The toggle switch is at an angle. That's one of the most annoying things about a Telecaster is in the bridge position, depending on what kind of knob you have right here, sometimes it can be hard to get it out. So I do like how he's angled that a little bit. And the prototype he was showing off actually had everything reversed, but he decided to flip that back. But as far as our controls, it's regular volume and tone. One small critique I do have, this knob is so close to this securing screw, you can feel it rub against it. So it's not completely effortless. But if you just raise up that knob a tad, you clear it just fine. As far as the pickups within the circuit, the neck reads 9.48 k ohms, and then our bridge is at 729. And as far as our in-betweens, they go a little bit crazy, so maybe that just has something to do with the wiring. Call me a mod-happy crazy guy, but hear me out, guys. What do you think about a half guard? I feel this gives it a little bit more of a unique identity to it rather than just some extended Telecaster. Now, I just snapped this pick guard in half with a scoring mark, so it didn't turn out perfect. But at the same time, I kind of like how non-perfect it is right there. If I could do it again, though, and actually had real tools for cutting pick guards, I might leave the tenon cover there, maybe not. And I decided since this one wasn't routed for not having the cover, I would just go ahead and put that on. This looks cool to me, but I'm also a Les Paul guy. I'm used to half guards. But speaking of the truss rod, that's right. He wanted easy access truss rod, so we got the wheel there instead of it being up here on the headstock. Another idea I had was, what if you create a P90 cover that has the top and bottom exposed just to make it look a little bit funkier? Because then people would be like, hey, what's that pickup up there, if you could see the blades. Something else I thought would be cool, since we don't have any routes under here, for his cherry blossom design, maybe he could have the Cort guys fancifully route out a flower, and then you just see the green underneath. You know, similar to what happened right here, except for in the shape of a flower. A thought for him for future runs, maybe. But if you're curious about that arm contour, here it is on the contour gauge. It just falls down. You can see the light as it does it. Well, moving on from our body. Once again, 3-piece maple neck. Looks like we're rocking a rosewood fretboard to me. I've got to say, the quality of fretwork is actually very nice. Whenever you're importing stuff, I'm sure there's always some mild concerns about that. But look at the edge of that fret. It has been filed down and rounded over. I don't think there's much work you could do to those to make them that much better. As far as the shininess out of the box, it's better than some companies we've seen. But just regular dot inlays. Nothing too crazily fancy here. No binding either. But the production version has a new bone nut, and it's also cream, whereas his prototypes were black to match the black binding. Well, let's check out our specs. Looks like 1.695, racing to 2.05 by the 12th. That's a fairly narrow neck. Some guitars go to like 210. But then about 0.84 first fret neck depth and stay skinny 0.91 at the 12th. All things considered, that's a pretty chunky fretboard. It's not like a lamination or anything. That's just a straight up board right there on the maple. Here's a look at that neck profile at the first fret and the 12th fret. Just a nice C shape. And remember, this is pre-official spec sheet. I measure closest to a 10-inch fretboard radius, and that seems fairly consistent throughout the neck, with a Fender 25.5-inch scale. As far as the tallness of the frets, I'd say they're somewhere close to a medium jumbo. They've got some good height to them. And then I was able to verify why he called the company Otera in his episode. I knew it was part of his last name, just didn't know if he wanted people to know that or not. But apparently it means temple in Japanese, so temple guitars. I'm never a huge fan of the button style tuners, but at least they're far enough away from each other that you're not getting hung up on them when you're trying to adjust each individual string. And I do like that we have that different wood veneer over top of it and the matching headstock. The white is very striking and standing out though. The prototype that had the yellow and black I think looked the best. Since most of you will probably never get to appreciate one of these in person, it's probably a good idea to let you know the dimensions. It's about 11 inches wide at our top bout, and at the thickest over here, it's pretty close to 13.5 inches. With the overall body length coming right here where the body comes in, it's about 15 inches. Yeah, just for fun. Our lower waist measures a 10. And as far as our body thickness, I get 1.57 inches. But that doesn't include things like our comfort cuts. That's just where it's thickest. I suppose now it's starting to look more like a Cabernita Telecaster. Maybe that's the other thing that made me want to do that. I love those Cabernitas. But flipping on over to the back, we've got some more beautiful wood grain. Before we can see our comfort cut over here, very large and elongated. There is this mysterious red sticker right there. I'd bet that has something to do with being at the factory, like that's their final quality sign off or something. But strap button there, output jack football style, and another button there. Before we get to our screws that secure the neck. Looks like mine survived the trip okay, no neck pocket cracks. And I was correct, it is supposed to be somewhere between a satin and gloss for the finish of the neck. And for your viewing pleasure, I'll fully gloss up a certain area so you can appreciate it. So here's a look at it fully buffed up and polished. You can see how it shines versus the regular areas of the neck, just a little bit more dull. Another fun reason why I chose that area is I've got a little bit of bird's eye in my neck right here. It just helps bring that out a little bit more. But oh, now I see why he spec'd it out the way he did. That finish is a little bit tacky when it's all glossed up. This is pretty nice. But it is indeed 3 pieces of maple. There's your center piece with 2 of them added. Before we get to all of our other branding, it's got Cort on it. Don't throw me away, compliances. Made in Indonesia. All of our labeling and serial number 27. I know the headstock's going to be polarizing. I think it looks better on the back. Perhaps what would spice this up a bit more is if he took some elements off of the Gibson Firebird and maybe make it like a 2-stepped thing. Like maybe a samurai sword kind of shape. That might be tricky with the tuners. I'm just thinking out loud here. But all said and done, mine weighs 6 pounds, 11.1 ounces with slight pickguard weight relief. So let's go ahead and plug this thing in and hear how it sounds. That's quite a wide variety of tones. I would assume that's that series parallel switch, with the one he was talking about that gets darker in that position. And then this one's just the bridge pickup. Now let's try it with a little bit of dirt. I really like that all the way down position with dirt. You know what? I'm just realizing. That's a telly pickup. It sounds like a ferocious humbucker. Well, there we go. Samurai Guitarist's new guitar. What are my honest thoughts? It's way too wide, in my opinion. You do get used to it, but I'm also a guy who loves a chunky Telecaster, and this is the exact opposite. It has been slimmed down, and I understand that a lot of people enjoy that. Oddly enough, the neck, despite the dimensions looking rather narrow, it feels really wide, so that might be a benefit to you. I think a chunky U-shape would fit this body shape too. But most importantly, how does it sound? Wow. Definitely was surprised by that. This thing is a fire breather. Nothing wrong there, but going into it knowing there were Seymour Duncans in here, I was expecting greatness. One other thing I noticed while playing, I found this ledge gets in my way. Now that's just typical telly stuff, but that might be something I consider changing in the future, is one of the more modern style that doesn't have that ledge right there. That would open up the feel of this guitar a bit more. Well, thank you, Samurai, for sending me this. It is a very nice gift. I enjoyed getting to take a look at one of the early examples. I wish you the best of luck further designing more guitars and doing these limited runs. Sounds like a lot of fun. If you're interested in purchasing one of these, you can find it at oteraguitars.com. I hope you enjoyed, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow on the next one. Take care.